Welcome to Sukkos before Sukkos. Today we're going to be learning chapter 1, Perek Aleph, Mishna Daled, the fourth Mishnah. We've included the text of the third Mishnah. Apologies that we left it out of the last video. So you've got the text of Mishnah 3, 4, and 5. Mishnah Daled, the fourth Mishnah, reads the following. Hidlo Aleho es hagefen v'sadlas v'sakisoin. If a person pulled over a sukkah, a vine, a grapevine, a vine of delas, which is translated as a gourd or ivy, sichech al gabo, and that became the schach, the covering over the sukkah, psula, it is invalid. It's invalid because although it's a type of thing that is good for schach, but it's still connected to the ground, and therefore it's not valid as schach. However, if he pulled the vine over the sukkah, and it got mixed in together with legitimate schach, and the proper schach is much more than the vine, then it's okay. Or if he cut them at the root, and now they are no longer connected to the ground, kasheira, that becomes kosher schach. However, we need to point out that if he cut the vine at the bottom, and now it's lying on the sukkah as kosher schach, he would still need to do something else. The problem is a different one. There is a rule that when you put schach on a sukkah, it must be placed there as kosher schach and not become automatically kosher after it was placed there. This principle is called taseh v'lo min ha'osui. Now when he lifted the vine over the sukkah, that was invalid schach. Now he's cut it at the bottom, it sort of indirectly, automatically become valid. So therefore, although the Mishnah says that it's kosher, he would still be required to lift up each piece and to put it back on the sukkah so that it's placed there as kosher schach. This is the rule, the Mishnah says. Anything that is susceptible to impurity. There are certain things that can become impure and certain things can't. Something that could conduct impurity, it can become impure, is called makabel tumah. Anything that can be makabel tumah is not valid for schach. Also, anything that doesn't grow from the ground is not valid from schach. So the two things that invalid an object to be schach is if it's makabel tumah, if it can be susceptible to impurity, or it doesn't grow from the ground. But something that's not susceptible to impurity, the gidulay min haaretz, and does grow from the ground, mesachachin boy, becomes valid schach. Those are the two conditions. Then continues Mishnah Hay, the fifth Mishnah. Chavilei kash v'chavilei eitzim v'chavilei zrodim. Bundles of straw, bundles of wood, or bundles of fresh cane. Now, these are things that grow from the ground. They do not makabel tumah, they're not susceptible to tumah, but they have a different problem. These are things that are normally bundled together, and they're left out to dry, and then later used for firewood. Essentially, these are appropriate for schach, yet the Mishnah says, Ein mesachachin bahem, you may not use them for schach. Why? Because the rabbis were worried, as a precaution, that a person might have placed these bundles on top of the sukkah, not for the purpose of covering the sukkah with schach, but for the purpose of it drying, becoming dry. And if it was done that way, and then he decided to use it for schach, we have the same problem as we had before, that's now indirectly becoming schach and not directly becoming schach, and therefore it wouldn't be good. And therefore we say, as a precautionary measure, you may not use bundles that are tied up for schach altogether, in case you put them there for drying and then later decide to use them for schach. However, the kulon she'itiran ksheros, but all these bundles, if you untied them, meaning if you put them there for schach, you did put them there for schach, but we don't want him to use you for schach because they're tied, but if you untied them, then they're okay. The kulon, ksheros, letfanos, and all these things, even things that are invalid for schach, are okay to use for the walls. The walls don't have any conditions. The walls of a sukkah, as long as they meet the right measurements and they're strong enough to stand up, as we'll learn later, they're good for walls. It doesn't matter what material they're made out of. But for schach, they have to be growing from the ground, not susceptible to tumah, and not be bundles as a precautionary measure. Have a great day.